Alright, so here's my Coates 5030E. Very basic tire machine. So if you're going to learn on the most basic, most of them are all going to be the same. A couple of the controls, we got our air pressure pedal, works just like the TC37. You push it halfway down, air comes through the chuck. You push it all the way down, air comes through these holes that are on the table or on the clamps. We got 3 pedals on the bottom. Pedal on your far left is to operate the clamp. Pedal in the middle is for the bead breaker on the side, and then pedal on the far right is to rotate the turntable. Down is clockwise, up is counterclockwise, which you rarely ever use. I got a wheel that I'm going to go ahead and mount the tire. Demount the tire. First is I'm going to break the bead, so I'm going to push right here with my bead breaker. I might have to push, maybe here, 180 degrees, flip it around to the other side of the tire. We'll see how that goes. Line it up on the bead breaker. Throw it on there. Clamp it down. Always refer to your poster on where to position the TPMS, either 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, or 6 o'clock positions. And on this one, it's a little bit different because we're going to refer those positions with regards to this. So this is 12 o'clock, we're doing 1, 3, and 6 o'clock. All right, so you got to set up the machine for the wheel and tire just like you did on the TC37. You take this arm, push this down until it touches the rim, push this over. That actually lifts it up just barely off the wheel. And then you have this knob on the side here. You're going to move this in until it touches the rim, and then slowly adjust this to where this just barely moves off the wheel. That way we're not scratching the wheel as we're operating this. So I want my valve stem about 1 o'clock in relation to this. So about there works good for me. I take my tire lever, put it under the bead, and I got to push down on the opposite end right here, again, to utilize that drop center. Alright, so I push down right here, lift up and over, push this down to the wheel, and you're going to hold it there. This tire, not that strong of a sidewall, but you get a run flat, something like that, this thing's going to spring back and hit you. So you're always just going to gently hold this down. And again, if I was actually operating this machine, not videoing, I'd be standing right about here. Then you can go ahead and rotate. Rotating it all the way around. Lifting the tire. You want it to kind of wobble around when you hit it. If you move it and it doesn't wobble around, the bead's probably still seated a little bit on the bottom, and you just kind of lift it up. Sometimes you might have to take it back off the machine, use the bead breaker on the side to break that bead loose. But bead's loose, pretty good. And just like I was utilizing the drop center by pushing the bead down, I'm going to utilize the drop center by pushing the bead up. I'm going to line up my TPMS at 1 o'clock in relation to this guy, right about there. And I'm going to hold the tire up off the wheel like this. That's pushing my bead closer into the drop center. Alright, I got the bead hooked with this. And then go ahead and lift this up. Make sure that's staying kind of in the drop center there. And if it's not, you lift up on this side of the tire too as you're pushing this over. And you can go ahead and rotate. tires off. Whenever you put the tire lever back in, make sure it's in the hole that's on the side there. I've seen some people push it in here, and then it can rip off these hoses. So, let's say I cleaned off my wheel, I'm ready for a new tire. This is my new tire. First thing you gotta do, lube it up. And if you get a little sloppy with this stuff and it's all over the sidewall, you gotta clean that off before you put it back on the car. Alright, so try not to be so sloppy because you don't want to put this back on the car and then, customer gets it, stuff like that. It's just not gonna look good. So, we gotta make sure it's the right rotation for whatever side of the car we're going on, if they're rotational tires, whatever. And then if none of those things apply, we're going to take a look at our manufacturer date off of the DOT number, in this case 1914, and we want that facing up or out. Just like this. And remember, this has already been adjusted. I haven't changed this, I haven't lifted this up, I haven't turned this knob, so this one's already adjusted for the wheel. I'm just going to go ahead and hold the tire at an angle and push that over. And then I'm going to put the bead underneath the knob on the right, on my right, and above in the back on the left, and just kind of hold this at an angle, guiding the bead into the drop center. Alright, and remember, always position that TPMS according to the poster. Next thing we're going to do, again, on the TC37, I can use the machine to push the bead into the drop center. Here I have to use my hands. Alright. And that, always make sure that it doesn't go underneath that. You'll rip your bead, and then use your fists to push the bead and guide it to that drop center. So left hand's going to push down, that's going to stay there, and then this one's just going to keep pushing out down over here. Making sure that the bead looks like this all the way around until it seats. Now I'm done with the guide. I wouldn't want the valve stem all the way over there, just to make it a little bit easier to